Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. And this is my second live, my second one. I'm going to get this thing right, and we're going to get a consistent schedule so you guys will know when I'm going live. But as always, I'm going to talk about cartooning, I'm going to talk about caricature, and also I'm going to keep my promise to teach you how to make money with your art, how to draw funny and make money at the same time. So these are all ways that I've made money in the past and in the present by doing these exact things. So listen to what I say. Okay, anyway, it's an election year, and that's important. That's really, really, really important. And it's important because this brings back memories about the subject that I'm going to talk about. Let me start off by saying incidentally, I'm going to take a long way around because, well, it's live and I could take up time like that. Anyway, I start off by saying this. I absolutely love Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump, but not for the reason why you think. Has nothing to do with his political position. It has nothing to do with me being a Republican. I'm not. I'm a Democrat. But what it has to do with is the same thing it had to do with a previous generation. In a previous generation, artists, cartoonists, caricature artists, and especially editorial artists loved Richard Nixon. They loved him for his antics, but especially they loved him for the way he looked. And cartoonists got a ball out of him and got a lot of mileage out of him. And I feel the same way about Donald Trump. He has one of those faces, one of those personas that absolutely positively begs to be drawn. Now, what's interesting about drawing Donald Trump is that he's tall. He's a little over 6 feet. And yet artists have adopted to draw him like he's a dwarf almost. And I think that has to do with an editorial decision, which makes a statement, a visual statement of what they think of him as a person. He's a small person. He might be large in stature for real, but because of the way he acts, he's short in stature in the cartoon. And I get it as a cartoonist. I remember, like I said, I'm taking a long way around. So, about Donald Trump, he has a Barney Rubble haircut, same color. He puts on his own makeup and it's orange. I think at one point he was trying to go for the look that you see, what is it, bodybuilders in magazines. But they're professionals and know how to put that on. And usually they have aides who assist them with their makeup. But Donnie, being a do-it-yourselfer, decided to do it himself, and in the process, made him look like the Great Pumpkin or a big carrot with blonde hair. For an artist, that is gold because you don't have to make things up. It's right there. And speaking of not having to make things up, how can you not, as an editorial artist, love a person who is constantly, consistently, and daily giving you dialogue that you can make fun of? Nobody else does that. I mean, whether he's saying something ridiculous, what was the latest thing I remember? The latest thing is something about bacon. Nobody's eating bacon anymore. Bacon is too high. I mean, the guy is running for president of the United States, and you think that he would have something more, I don't know, concrete about what he's going to do than to talk about bacon and how we're in danger of that. But anyway, this is not for me to make fun of his political rants or his, I don't know, ramblings. But as an editorial artist, it's gold. Which now brings me finally around to the subject of how you can make money. But another story. Around this time, a couple of years back, my friend Kenley and I, we were working at the caricature booth, and McCain and Obama were running against each other. And what we decided to do between customers was to entertain each other by drawing editorial cartoons of Obama and McCain. And after a while of making each other laugh all day, I said to Kenley, "Hey, why don't you go to your illustrations are pretty good. Why don't you go to a newspaper and see if they'll purchase some of your editorial cartoons?" And we both laughed about it. And on the way home, I thought to myself, why don't I do that? Okay, so I went to my local newspaper. I was living in Far Rockaway. That was the Wave newspaper. And I presented the cartoons to the editorial editor. He looked at him, he smiled. I could tell that he liked them. I said, "Listen," I said, I don't want any money for this, but because this is timely, just put me in the next issue because nobody resists free. It's the magic number." And it were great cartoons. And so he did that. The next week, I bought him some more. No money, I just want notoriety. He put those in. By the third week, he was asking me if I had any more. By the fourth week, he was offering me a job, and I had the job for all 8 years of Obama's presidency. Happened just like that. Why am I telling you this long and drawn out story? Because if you are a beginning artist, one of the things that you need more than anything else for future jobs is notoriety. You need to have some stuff on paper in a copy, and you need to have to add to your resume that you worked here. Somebody was willing to print your stuff. It doesn't have to be for much money. It doesn't have to be for any money. But if you're like on the road to doing this cartooning thing, the other person needs to know, your next hiring person needs to know that you are good enough to have somebody else pay or take a chance on showcasing your work in their newspaper, their periodical, their website, or whatever. So, my advice always to beginning artists is know what's going on around you politically. Reason why I give you that advice is because political caricature is easy. All you have to do is watch the news, listen to other people's podcasts, read the newspaper. The dialogue, the material is there for you to just grab and have opinions on it. Okay, and so what you do is once you got the story of the day down pat, you draw some cartoons and editorials of it. You put your own spin on it. You pick a side and put your own spin on it, or you argue both positions and put your own spin on it. If you're going to approach a paper, make sure that, well, it's helpful if you know the paper's slant, so you don't ruin your chances. But make it as outrageous as you can, or subtle if that's more your style. Present it to the editor, and you could say what I said. Hey, I'm not looking for money. I'm interested in this issue, and I'd like to present this to you. They may say no, but I think that they'll say yes, like they did to me, because they're not paying for it. And if they're good, if they're humorous, they'll take a chance and put it in there, especially if it's a hometown paper. I'm not suggesting you go to the Daily News or whatever your version of the Daily News is and wherever you live. Not suggesting that, but hey, if you got enough guts, you got enough ambition, then go for it. But I especially urge you to try the hometown papers because they have smaller budgets. They don't have, how can I put this? They have small budgets, okay? And they need content. in order to stay afloat. Okay, I ended up also doing things for the Canarsie Courier newspaper. That's where I started as a full page, half page, quarter page graphic artist. And occasionally I would do cartoons, especially in the clip art section. There's no such section as that. Especially when I did ads that required illustration and I just didn't want to use boring clip art. So I drew the illustrations. But that's another story. So this is really what I recommend. I'm sorry that I'm skipping around and it seems like I'm incoherent, but I'm only 64 years old, and sometimes it's actually hard to keep up and to remember. Actually, the voice that you were hearing a while ago is my my theatrical voice. Okay, so it takes a lot for me to come on here and start speaking like this. But after all, I am Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant, and that's what I do. But make sure, especially during this particular election year, that you start making up comics, caricature. I don't care what level of drawing you do. Start making editorial art and start sending it out. If you find that nobody wants to print what you have to offer, then you put it out. If you have a blog site, if you have a website, if you have a TikTok channel, if you have a YouTube channel, the world is yours. You can put this in any one of those social media outlets, and get a lot of views and a lot of likes and a lot of followers as a result of that. Who knows? You might find out that you're actually good at this kind of thing. And I certainly have done it on both of my social media platforms. Whenever I post political cartoons, it always gets a sizable number of views. So I recommend that you try making editorial cartoons, especially now. This is the first time we had a matchup like this. Take advantage of it. And let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. As always, subscribe, share, and comment. This is Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. Goodbye. Okay, goodbye for real now. I have to figure out how to turn this thing off.